It is a way of helping young people everywhere learn who they really are before the world tries to tell them who they are. Our kids are not going to become what we tell them to become or what we suggest that they become. They're going to become what they consistently see modeled.
Cristy is a Maxwell leadership coach. She is host of Live to Lead Dayton. She's a member of our Dayton iLead advisory team and a major gift fundraising consultant.
One organization was never meant to carry the entire responsibility of raising the next generation. No school can do it alone. No parent can do it alone. No church has the sole responsibility. No business, no coach. But together, when we all support and we all play the role that we have, that's when something incredible happens.
Welcome back to School on a Mission, everybody. Andrew McPeak here alongside the always encouraging, ever empowering Gina Watts.
I love that alliteration, sir. Thank you so much for the intro. Friends, we're so happy that you're here.
We sure are. We sure are. And folks, if you, like us, believe that school should be more than just essays and GPAs, if you believe that EQs are just as important as IQs, and if you expect amazing things from the next generation, then you are in the right place, because we believe that too.
Throughout this summer, we've been highlighting people who help students thrive beyond the traditional classroom. We've talked with coaches, community leaders, school board members, and educational innovators, all people who play an important role in the student success ecosystem.
That's right. And today's guest brings a unique perspective because her primary focus isn't working directly with students. Instead, she invests in the adults who teach, coach, mentor, employ, and influence the next generation every single day. So we're excited to introduce you to her in just a few minutes.
But before we jump in, let's dive into our question of the day. Are you ready, Mr. McPeak?
I hope so.
Today's question is, who is someone that invested in you as a leader? So specifically thinking about you becoming a leader, serving as a leader. Maybe it was a coach, a supervisor, a mentor, a teacher, a pastor, someone who helped you grow. Who would that be for you, dear?
Well, Gina, I've had a lot of people who have poured into my life.
Indeed.
It's quite a long list. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I wouldn't be here today without those folks. And that's probably there's no one for whom that's more true than Dr. Tim Elmore. He's the one that came to mind today. If you know him, you love him, is basically what I have learned about Tim. So many people know Tim, but what people may not know about me and Tim is I was 26 years old. I had recently lost my job. I was cobbling together my income from writing freelance. And I walked into the Growing Leaders offices. This was back in 2015. And Tim saw something in me. I'm still not exactly sure what, but he decided I'm going to take this kid on. I was 26, and he started pouring into me and gave me amazing opportunities. And while you could say, yeah, I made the most of those opportunities, there's still opportunities that wouldn't have come my way if he hadn't looked at somebody who was effectively untested and said, I'm going to give this guy a shot. And so, there's been so many investments in countless ways. Tim's been a really great mentor and is also a really great friend. And so he's the one that came to mind.
That's so awesome, Andrew. And I know there might be some of you even listening to this and thinking the relationship that you might even have had with Tim from afar or up close. I know my relationship with Tim started from afar, and it was life-changing as well. Yeah. And I thought of Tim as somebody who poured into me as a leader, but
who's yours?
When I was thinking about this question, I wanted to name someone who modeled behavior for me that I emulated, some on purpose and some by accident, because of my experience with them. And like you, Andrew, I think you and I are just so fortunate. There's so many people that have just not been mentored and haven't had leaders pour into them. And you and I can always say so many. There's so many people that we can thank for pouring into us. And I know we don't take that lightly. But yeah, so one person that I thought of, and I actually haven't thought of her in a while, so I think I might look her up and find her and give her a call. Her name is Rochelle Peretti. Rochelle was the student activities director at Penn State Fayette when I went to undergrad there. And she oversaw all of our student activities. So it was a small campus. At the time when I was going to school there, at our highest, we might have been like 2,000, but like never really more than that. It's a very small campus. But Rochelle just created transformational experiences for students. And she often saw in students what we could not see in ourselves. And, at that time I was a new mom. So Christian was somewhere between the ages of 6 weeks and 4 years old during my undergraduate career. And Rochelle just poured into me. And one of the things that she did that I continue to do to this day is she wrote me this amazing letter of recommendation for a university-wide award. And nobody had ever gotten it before from our campus. I actually think it might have been the first time they even offered the award at the university, but it was the Rose Cologne Citizenship Award presented by attorney Edgar Snyder. Call 391-2101. You're welcome for that commercial. Anyway, so I remember this. I got this award. And here's the thing. It wasn't about getting nominated for the award. It was the letter that she wrote that just shared her heart for me and students. And I kept it. I framed it. And it actually was the way that I write from then on. That's how I communicate about people in my life and write letters of recommendation for them. People always compliment me on that. And I was like, Rochelle Peretti. But she poured into me. She made me see myself as a leader. She did things intentionally on purpose to model leadership. And yeah, changed me in so many ways. She was a good one.
Gina, I love that. That's so good.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you.
It's funny how, that was not a small thing, but in the end, it was like, it was a letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
But it was the way she did it. It was the tone, as well as just her care of you. And, we sit on this podcast a lot and we talk about investing in students. Obviously, we believe in that, right? That's huge. But the reality is that every great leader, those of us who do invest in students, which is all the people who are listening to this podcast right now, they usually have someone who invested in them first, right?
Yep.
Like every leadership conversation is ultimately like a great chain of leadership conversation. And what's great about that is that's a perfect setup for where we're going today in this episode.
I love it. So are we ready to introduce our friend?
Let's do it.
All right. Today we're joined by Cristy Kettering. Cristy is a Maxwell leadership coach. She is host of Live to Lead Dayton. She's a member of our Dayton I Lead advisory team and a major gift fundraising consultant. Cristy brings decades of experience in Christian education, leadership development, nonprofit consulting, fundraising, business ownership, and coaching. She works with organizations throughout Ohio and across the country, helping leaders expand their capacity, strengthen their organizations, and increase their impact.
And one of the things that stood out to us is that Cristy describes herself as a connector, an activator, an encourager, and a coach. She spends her time investing in businesses, nonprofits, faith-based sectors, and in educational leaders who, in turn, influence the next generation. So it's a wonderful reminder to us that sometimes the greatest impact on students begins by investing in the adults who are around them. So, Cristy, we are so excited that you're here. Welcome to School on a Mission.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you guys and honored that you would invite me. Really, seriously. Thank you.
Well, we've got a couple of questions to throw your way. And so here's where I want to start. Cristy, you've spent much of your career developing adults who then go on to lead other people. So what first convinced you that investing in leaders could ultimately change the lives of students?
Mm, that's a good question. I gave that some thought, and really, I don't know exactly when I was convinced that investing in leaders could ultimately change the lives of students, but I know that I am now definitely convinced more than ever that that is the case. During my career in higher education and Christian broadcasting and nonprofit fundraising and now Maxwell Leadership, I've watched something happen all the time. And that is that and Craig Rochelle says this, I know all the time too, that when the leader grows and the leader improves and the leader gets better, everybody benefits. And that especially means the young people who are influenced by the lives that we live. So I think I agree with what you just said, that the best way to change the lives of students is to provide them with the best leaders in all of the spaces where they live, work, and play. So, as I'm thinking about that, like in the home, parents, we have to be the best we can be, because that's our kids are not going to become what we tell them to become or what we suggest that they become. They're going to become what they consistently see modeled, I guess, because I really do believe that. And that's the same at school. We need the best principals and superintendents and teachers. We need the best ministers, volunteers and pastors in our churches, nonprofits. I love working with their leaders and growing their leadership so that they can serve, they can influence the young people that they serve in their nonprofits. As I was thinking about this question last night, I found this poem. Years ago, I was a teacher, okay? First 20 years of my career, I was a teacher. And I taught at all different levels, college, high school, junior high. And there was this poem. I used to teach my kids speech, okay? And they would prepare them for the speech competition. And there was this poem called The Bridge Builder. Have you guys ever heard of it? The Bridge Builder. It's by Will Allen Dromgoole. Is that okay if I take 1 minute and read it? Okay, because
Absolutely.
it's so much about sums up what we just said. So I've printed it out here. It says, an old man going a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never will again pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build a bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there followed after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been naught to me, to this fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. So, good friend, I'm building this bridge for him. Love it.
That was great. That was wonderful. I love that. Now that's going to be one of my poems I refer to often. There's nothing like a good poem. It summarizes how you think, how you lead, and honestly, kind of the legacy you want to leave behind. That's actually what I was hearing as you shared that, Cristy. You often describe yourself as a connector and an activator and an encourager and a coach. And I personally have benefited from you doing all of those things, all four of them, even just Friday. You did that for me and serving people incredibly well. As you've worked with leaders across education and nonprofits and business and faith communities, what qualities have you found in these folks that make the greatest difference when someone is influencing the next generation?
I think that those that make the greatest difference are not necessarily always the most intelligent or the most accomplished, but they are people who are compassionate, that really do genuinely care. And I think that's where the difference begins, is do they really care? Are they really, or are they, trying to make a name for themselves by what they're accomplishing or communicating. But I think too, these influencers and leaders are always learning, and they're always listening, and they usually learn by listening.
Mhm.
And I think because young people really just want to be understood, they want to be listened to, and then they want to be led. They don't just want
Mhm.
people to tell, they don't want us to tell them what to do. They want us to show them what to do, and they want us to listen and understand their lives. And I think that they also look for leaders who collaborate and not just think that they know everything and can do everything in their own little silos. One more thing too about that, I think it's someone who sees the potential in them. I have a
Yeah.
friend, her name's Jeannie Porter. She's very well known in the greater Dayton area. She actually started the Women in Business Network years ago. And then recently, the last few years, she started Women in Christian Leadership. She has this incredible ability to see things in people that they don't see in themselves. And she will call this out. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard her look somebody in the face and say, "You can do this," or "I see you in this role," or "You've got the personality and the ability to do this." And so I think young people need us to do more of that. Not just, adults still do. Emerging leaders, mature leaders, veteran leaders, whatever, but especially young people, because they don't have the experience. They don't even sometimes know how to dream for themselves. They need somebody else to help them recognize where their strength is, where their character is, and just really call that out in them. I think that's just something that really makes a difference. Those are qualities that I found that make the greatest difference in someone who influences the next generation, is calling them out and recognizing their potential. And that's the kind of leaders I think that they need. Someone who sees things in them and can instill in them a belief in the development, and share that they can share their gifts with the world and make a difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love the way that you connected those dots, because, and you said this sort of without saying it, but not only do they see potential, not only do they communicate belief, but they also challenge that person. That's effectively what they're doing, right? But that challenge is born out of belief. And it's like, you can't challenge a student or anyone to rise to their best if you don't see the potential in them first, to call that out. So I love that.
Not
I love that.
genuinely.
Okay,
You're right. Mhm.
yeah. Okay, I want to give us another question here, because I think you're uniquely positioned to speak into a reality that a lot of the leaders that are probably listening to this podcast, they've kind of their vision is starting to get wider. Okay, so one of the themes for our series this summer has been that helping students thrive is not just a school responsibility. It's not just a school reality. It takes an entire community, right? And as a teacher is moving up to administrator levels, suddenly they start to get that view of like, it's not really just about what happens in the classroom or the scope and sequence of the school year or any of those kinds of things. It is so much about how is the community investing in. And so you've had a front row seat in the work that you have done to see educators, nonprofits, businesses, faith communities, all these different folks working together in order to transform a community and ultimately transform the lives of the students in that community. So what have you learned sitting in that seat about the power of those kinds of partnerships?
Simply that one organization was never meant to carry the entire responsibility of raising the next generation. No school can do it alone. No parent can do it alone. No church has the sole responsibility. No business can take the sole responsibility for developing the next workforce in that generation. No coach can do that, no athletic program. But together, when we all communicate and when we all collaborate, when we all support and we all play the role that we have in those areas in the next generation's lives, that's when something incredible happens. Amazing things happen. I've just seen it. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys know this, but several years ago, I started doing Dr. Maxwell's Change Your World community transformation tables in the greater Dayton area. We gathered around the table 6 leaders from all different sectors who met for 1 hour a week for 6 weeks. And they met to just get to know each other and do some small lessons on values, to really evaluate their own values and learn from each other's experiences and values. And when I did that, again, we had businessmen, we had healthcare administrators, we had coaches, ministry leaders, pastors. It was incredible. And that's when I realized that when they started participating in these tables, then they also did start collaborating and doing joint work together, or making referrals to each other, and it was it was so neat to see the connection happen. And because sometimes the nonprofit has the relationship that this business is looking for, or sometimes the church has the volunteers that the nonprofit's looking for, and all of this collaboration affects the next generation. So I think when we stop asking whose job is it to train these kids and get this next generation ready, and start saying, how can we all come together to do this? It will get done then. And it's so exciting to see that. I'm so proud of the greater Dayton area, and proud of you guys for the work that you do in doing transformation tables with the youth. I mean, that's what excites me. It's about iLead too. I know we'll talk about that later maybe, but I recently convened when Gina, you and Kevin were in town, educators, businessmen and women, ministry leaders, law enforcement. There was a city official there, a mayor. It's just exciting to begin these discussions to see how we can do more specific work together to grow the next generation of leaders, because they're counting on us. It's our job.
It's so good, Cristy. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristy. And friends, as you're listening to this conversation with Cristy and you're like, hey, I had never thought that I could be somebody that's for the next generation, or I never thought about how I could use my influence to serve locally. Listen to this conversation kind of with that new perspective, and feel free to reach out to us, because we'd love to help you figure out how you can use your influence for good. We're going to pause right here and take a quick commercial break. All right. So we have something we are so excited to share with you as we've listened to the incredible stories of educators and coaches, administrators, and community leaders over the past few seasons. One thing has become really clear. The impact that they make isn't just because of what they know, it's because of who they are. That's why we're planning something special for the next season of School on a Mission. We will focus on the values that shape transformational leaders, values like choices and growth, attitude, commitment, and forgiveness. And instead of simply talking about those values, we want to introduce you to people who are living them every day.
And here's where we would love your help. Do you know a teacher? Do you know a coach, a principal, a school counselor, a mentor, a volunteer, a parent, a community leader, any of these people whose life consistently demonstrates these leadership values? Someone whose influence deserves to be celebrated. We would love to hear their story. So we've opened nominations, and we'd love for you to recommend someone who has made a difference in your life or in the lives of the students you lead. You'll find that nomination form linked in today's show notes. Tell us who they are, which value they exemplify, and why you think their story should be shared.
Our hope is that these stories will encourage educators everywhere and remind us that leadership is about so much more than a title. It's about the values we live every day. Now let's get back to today's conversation. Okay, Cristy, so you spend a lot of time helping organizations grow in their capacity and sustainability. And a leadership axiom we highlight often is about legacy. It's, what we do, it should live beyond us, not because of us.
Mm-hmm.
I literally say that all the
That's
time.
right.
And so what's advice that you would give someone leading a school, a nonprofit, or a ministry who's trying to build something that lasts? And let me pause here for a second. One of the reasons why we ask you that conversation is because you've already shared with us earlier that you were a teacher for 20 years. And you've redefined success in your life over and over again, but using who you are, the values that you live out every day for good to influence others in various areas. And so I know as a coach, you probably help people think through this. So how do you help organizations think about something beyond them?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the next generation, or maybe it's just beyond this moment for them.
Most of the leaders that I coach and work alongside for a season, they have that desire. They're not in it for the money. They're not in it to make a name for themselves. They're in it to build something that will positively affect their communities and the people that live in them and many of the younger generation. So I will tell you what I tell them every day, because I say this to almost at least one nonprofit a day, is I would tell them if they want to grow and leave a lasting legacy, they have to spend time building relationships and building and growing leaders. And what I mean by that is build relationships with people who share your vision, who share the compassion that you have and the dreams that you have for making an impact and a difference in whatever area you're working. There are people who share what you believe in and share your mission, and they want to invest in it. You just have to share it with. So have the conversations, look for the people that care about the things you care about, and give them the opportunity to make financial investments, because many times that's the only way they can help. A lot of people can't get, down and dirty in the, and do the boots on the ground kind of work. They just can't. Maybe they're older, or their circumstances just don't allow. They're running family businesses and foundations, but they can help. So build relationships and have conversations with those people. They really are looking for organizations that are doing work that are going to impact the next generation. Then I say, spend your time building other leaders in your organization. Because if you want anything to last, it's got to be well led. A lot of nonprofits don't succeed because they don't have good leadership. There isn't anybody to take the reins if there is a leader there. So multiply leaders. We talk about this all the time, the importance. You don't just want to coach people who follow you. You want to build into people who can build into other people. It's so true. And when leaders multiply leaders, the mission can outlive every single one of us. It does all the time. But the simple fact is it takes leaders and money to build something that lasts. So you have to have those conversations. Think about the leaders that have already built legacies, Dr. John Maxwell. And he's all about building leaders, oh my gosh, all the ministry leaders that we know of, all the business leaders we know of, they understand that it takes money and it takes leadership to really make a difference. And so I would say build leaders and build relationships. That's just the way that the world works.
So good. So good. Well, one of the things I'm always conscious of as we record our podcast is who is listening on the other side. So right now you've got educational leaders who are maybe thinking about the school year as it kind of hits them full in the face, right? That's kind of the season that we're in. And as you think about those leaders and they're thinking about how am I investing in the people around me, I want to pose a question to you about fulfillment. So you said your greatest joy is helping leaders grow personally and professionally, which is what many of the leaders who are listening to this podcast are doing, and maybe know, man, I need to do that better. Cristy's reminding me today. But I also want you to talk about where you get your fulfillment from. So like when you look back over the many leaders who you've coached and developed and invested in, what gives you the greatest sense of fulfillment in that journey, and how can that pass on to the people who are listening to this?
I think that my greatest fulfillment is seeing the people that I've had the privilege of walking alongside and having conversations with, either mentoring or coaching or teaching, even my students, thousands of students. My greatest fulfillment comes in seeing them build a life of significance and impact. There was a season when I think the youngest grade I ever taught was 8th grade. And I made the mistake early on of trying to determine who in my 8th grade class of the 150 students that I had would probably be pretty successful and which ones wouldn't. How stupid, how foolish. We never know what can happen in the life of somebody when somebody else speaks truth and goodness into their heart and inspires them to try to work at it. I was eating at a restaurant downtown Dayton a few weeks ago, and the owner of the restaurant, high upscale restaurant, came to see me, and he was one of my former students. And it was like, Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful. It's like, "Mrs. Kettering," and then he left, we chatted, he left, he came back with another student. He goes, "I just thought we'd have a reunion here. Here's another one of your students, one of my classmates." And he had a successful music career. I mean, you just never know where, what's gonna happen in the lives of anybody. So that's why I love what Dr. Maxwell says when he says, "Always see a 10 on everybody's forehead," you know, because everybody is a 10. We just have to help them find their path, understand their shape, their spiritual gifts, their heart and their compassion, their abilities and their talents and their personality and their experiences, how all of those things are going to work together to produce something incredible, not just for themselves, but for the people that they're going to influence, the next generation they're going to influence, their kids and their grandkids and so on. So fulfillment, I think, comes in just, really being able to pour into somebody that then turns around and finds their path and makes a difference in the world. And teachers, oh my goodness. I never would have gone to college if a teacher hadn't looked at me and said, "You can go to college." It's like, "I can?" It's like, "Yeah, you can." So you need to. It's like, okay. So, I mean, and really, I've thought of all the things that almost everything that I've done, I feel like maybe you could say of significance, has been, I keep a list in my phone of all the people that told me I could do something that I never thought I could do and I would not have done had they not told me I could. I mean, it's long and it's amazing. I love it. Starts with my mother. She first told me I could twirl a baton. It's like, "I can? Okay." So I'm getting you lessons. I mean, and then it was somebody else. "You can start this business. You can be successful here." And Dr. John Maxwell spoke into my heart about 15 years ago and said, "You can coach, you can lead." And so teachers, keep believing that for yourself. Keep speaking that into the lives of other people. We just need to be one big circle of encouragement for each other and call it out.
That's amazing. Um, when you said about twirl a baton, our listeners know my many stories about my mom encouraging me, and I'm sure Andrew today was surprised that I didn't name her as being the leader who pours into me. Uh,
Mhm.
Nana gets all the shout outs, but yeah, it's so amazing how if we think about it, um, in the small ways and the big ways, all the leaders that have poured into us have helped us to be where we are.
Absolutely.
Cristy, throughout this series, we've talked to many people who help students thrive. And one of the ways that we get to be a part of doing that through Growing Leaders is by providing the iLead curriculum to schools and youth serving organizations around the world. And so we have the privilege of partnering with you and local leaders in the Dayton, Ohio area to implement iLead. Can you tell us a little bit just about why you're passionate about iLead and what you've maybe seen and witnessed that's happened so far in the Dayton community and maybe what you're hoping for the future?
Oh, I am so grateful and thankful for the iLead program. I'm going to try not to get emotional. um, it is not just a program. It is a way of helping young people everywhere uh,
Mm,
learn who they really are before the world tries to tell them who they are. Okay?
yes.
To give them the opportunity to discover their identity and their worth. The lessons are incredible. It helps bring students together to have conversations and understanding about people that they may never have even talked to at their school or in their classroom. It breaks down stereotypes. It's incredible. I just love it. It teaches students how to listen and how to respect each other, how to lead themselves, how to take leadership roles, how to be courageous, how to grow, all of the things that we have somehow forgotten that need to be taught in a school
Mm-hmm.
situation. We think that they're just going to be caught. There is
Mm-hmm.
some aspect of that, but when you get
Mm-hmm.
intentional with a student and give them the opportunity to really think and reflect again and learn from other students at the table, it changes. It's just life-changing. I think I first heard about iLead when I was doing a country transformation trip with Dr. Maxwell. It might have been in Paraguay or maybe it was one of the later ones. But I learned that even these vulnerable children in Africa. I know it was John Griffin that mentioned one time just how transformative the program has been in the lives of vulnerable children in that country. And it's like my prayer, my hope is that every single student in Ohio gets the opportunity to sit at a table and participate in the iLead program.
Yes.
I love that this program is so flexible and it can be used in lots of different settings. But I also love that the intentionality of trying to get it where most of the next generation of students are, and that's in the public schools. So I'm just, I'm cheering you on. I'm going to gather as many champions here in the Dayton area so that we can really do whatever it takes to fund and support the iLead program in the public schools, especially here in Southwest Ohio.
So amazing, Cristy. I as you were talking, I was just thinking again about your story and about the way you use your influence to open doors, to see transformation happen. And friends, earlier she shared with us that one of the things that she's was able to do was host transformation tables for adults. And basically what happens is adults are doing basically iLead for adults, right? They're talking about values and they're sitting around the table and they're having a conversation. And Cristy saw that and said, I wonder if we did this for young people, just how much further along those young people could be as they become adults, right? Because she was seeing it happen with adults. I think sometimes we wait for somebody else to do a thing. And she wasn't in a school currently teaching. She wasn't running a youth program. But what she did do was use her influence to open doors to see the thing that she knows works for adults to be impactful in the lives of young people in her community. She was planting seeds of transformation and has served really well in doing so. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Cristy. Yeah.
Can I just say too, just quickly,
Yeah.
I think we also have our transformation tables going on in a local prison. And there are men that are incarcerated there are acting as facilitators. And I got a call from the gal that runs those programs the other day, and she was just saying they're starting them up again, and it's just incredible. And the testimonies from the incarcerated men from that facility will just wreck you. But it reminded me of that statement. It's something about it's easier to build boys than it is to repair men, or something like that. And I'm thinking, let's don't wait until people are adults to help them discover their true identity and get on the right track, because it can be done at any age, at any level, but it's true, Gina. The earlier we reach the next generation, the more stable the communities and the less painful life will be for everybody, really.
So good. Before I hand it over to Andrew, that is actually one of my favorite quotes ever from Frederick Douglass. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Thank you.
I love it.
I know I didn't have it right, but I got the concept.
No, you did. You did.
You had it. So good. Cristy, you've been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
You guys.
It's just been so encouraging to hear your mindset and how you investing, even just in one leader, we know you're investing in hundreds if not thousands of leaders, how that spreads impact to hundreds and thousands of other people, including young people. And so we're just so encouraged by all the things that you've shared with us today.
Thank you.
Indeed.
I just love you guys. I love what you do, and God bless you.
Thank you, Cristy. Throughout this conversation, we've been reminded that supporting the next generation isn't only about working directly with students. Sometimes one of the greatest investments we can make is equipping the adults who influence them every day.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our final segment. It is time for DMI. DMI, of course, stands for Don't Miss It. Both Gina and I will highlight the one thing from today's conversation that we don't think you should miss. We are both nerds at heart, and so we are always taking notes. I know I'm surrounded by stickies, and begrudgingly, Gina, I'm going to let you go first.
I know, but you
steal
already know
mine.
which one I'm going to say. You already
I
know
do.
what my
Well,
DMI
that's why I prepped
is.
multiple, because I want to see where you go.
One time we should do just guess the DMI of the other person and then just to spice it up a little bit. Okay. So the DMI that Andrew knows I'm going to share is when Cristy was sharing with us that it's serving the next generation, empowering the next generation is bigger than one organization, one one school, one church. It is a community effort altogether, and that is literally my life mantra. I was on a meeting today, talking to I was trying to decide if I was going to say who it was with, but it was a deputy director of a state department of education who oversees the professional development for the entire state's educators. And they would like Andrew and I to work with them to build out their professional development training. So if you're listening and you're like, hey, I didn't know you guys did that, I'd like to be entertained by Andrew and Gina. We do that.
You know,
and you
we
actually
can.
learn stuff that passes qualifications. So anyways, I was talking to them, and I was saying how, our desire is to partner, is to complement what you're already doing, is to amplify the work that has been successful that you've already done. And that's the beautiful thing, I think, about growing leaders and our posture with all that we do. We literally call what some of you would call a customer, we call a partner. Like, we believe that serving the next generation comes by way of partnership. And I think if more of us thought of that way, and began to see how we could complement one another, how we could partner with one another, we would get so much more done, not just in serving the next generation, but in life in general. So yeah, quit looking at the school as like the one that deals with those little humans. It's all our job. Yeah. How about you, Andrew? What's your DMI?
So good, Gina. That is the one I knew you were gonna do. Okay, so but luckily, Cristy didn't just say one great thing. She said so many great things. She was talking about, this is my DMI. She was talking about the characteristics of a leader who does this kind of thing, right? Who transforms other people. And the thing that she came back to, which I love, she said, this is somebody who sees the potential. They're constantly on the lookout for, John Maxwell says leaders see more and they see before, right? And that's what we're talking about. It's like, if you're a principal listening to this, I want you to think about, who are my teachers, who are my staff members, who are my custodians who see more than other people see? And who are those people who see before other people see them? Who go, hey, I know that little Johnny has been to detention 3 times every semester for the last 3 years. But boy, I just think there's something in that kid. That's the people that we need around us. And it's the mindset of a leader. And what I wrote down, Cristy, I think you're going to like this. A question leaders need to ask themselves is, as they look at the leaders that they are developing. So your principal looks at your teachers, and your teachers looks at your student leaders, right? They need to ask the question, what is the capacity and what is the veracity of the leaders that you're putting in front of your students? And are they the kind of people who see more and before? Are they the kind of people who see potential? To me, that's the thing I don't want people to walk away missing from today's conversation. So thanks for sharing those things, Cristy.
Cristy, go put that somewhere, because it's a chapter in your book. Andrew does this all the time. He can't help it. He hears words and he says, oh, that's a book. That's a book. That's what he does. Capacity and veracity.
There you
I'm
go.
probably going to have a dream about it.
You can have it.
Because it rhymes.
You can have it.
Okay, it's amazing. Well, she's not paying you for it anyway. But fine. It's fine. It's great. Use it. Take it. Oh, Cristy, we had so much fun with you. Thank you for joining us today.
You guys
and
are
for
so
the countless ways, for the countless ways that you serve, and that you invest in leaders who are making a difference in their communities and in the lives of young people.
You guys are wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure.
All right. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for today's episode of the School on a Mission podcast. Now, before you hit skip onto that next podcast, we do have one last thing you've got to do. We've got a little challenge for you. We want you to grab a pen, grab a notebook, a sticky note like I did, or even the back of your own hand if you have to. And we want you to write down one thing you're going to do this week. You're going to take away from today's conversation. Maybe it's something you're going to do. It's a task you want to take on. Maybe it's an idea you need to investigate. You want to go look up the Bridge Builder poem and figure out, where am I going to use this, right? Maybe it's something you want to read more about, or it's a person that you want to meet with. Whatever it is, write it down. Got it? Perfect. Now we want you to shoot us a DM with your action step. We cannot wait to see the amazing things that you guys are up to.
And don't forget to check out the resources we've linked in today's show notes, including the nomination form to recommend guests for our upcoming season.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that wraps up today's episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep leading your school on a mission.